Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's pajama time. No, I'm just kidding. It's not pajama time. It's Team Rival Live back again with my first official solo anime review. Yes, I've done anime reviews in the past with Phone, Crazy Kenbei for Neverworld, Shintai, just to name a few. But I've never actually done one where I sat down in front of a camera and was just like, alright, here's my opinion, I'm running the show, and here's how it's going to go. And that's what's going to happen right now. So, this is just kind of a new format that I'm screwing around with, so... You know, I'm gonna see if I like how I edit this video, and, you know, things will change, and if you tell me what you like and don't like, whatever, yada yada yada. So, the first anime that I want to review for you know, this channel is Speedgrapher. I don't actually own the series, I watched it on Netflix. Netflix has a fucking beast selection of anime, like, it's really surprising. They have shit like Gurren Lagann, every single season of Initial D, I think except for 4th Stage, Trigun Complete, they have like Casser and Sins, Gun Sword, which I think I'm actually going to review that next, Kaze no Stigma, Blast Rider, the list goes on. If you have Netflix, please check out the instant streaming to see what kind of anime, because they have at least 100 series, and that's an impressive amount for Netflix. So anyways, Speedgrapher. I think it came out in 2004, 2006. It came out in the 2000s. Dates don't really matter. You guys don't give a shit about that. Gonzo Productions created it. The anime series, it was a manga, of course, originally, and it was converted into a few other things, like novels and that kind of stuff. And it was brought over by none other than Funimation. It pretty much brings over every single anime series worth watching nowadays, for the most part. And, you know, what do you expect from the shitty American anime industry? So, the general plot of Speedgrapher. It centers around Tatsumi Saiga. He's a young guy, late 20s, early 30s, and he's a wartime photographer. So he's seen hell and back. He's, you know, seen people being killed right in front of him, and he's taking pictures of them. He's a damn good photographer, too. He, you know, he gets a lot of credit for his work, so he's not some, you know, schmuck at this photography stuff. And so he's, you know, he stopped being a wartime photographer, and now he's kind of living in a city. And he's got a tip on this group. It's called the Roppongi group. And essentially what it is it's all like it's super, like, super underground, super secret, like, it's just rumors, no one actually has seen it, and if they've seen it, then they're probably not alive. And so, it's this group of, like, the wealthiest, the most powerful, like, most influential people in society. It's like the upper crust of society, pretty much. Whereas, you know, we would be middle class, it's like the super, like, upper, like, 1% of people. And apparently, like, all of these people, they're all like, old guys that you would expect. They're into, like, S&M, like, you know, beating women and leather and whips and chains, and that kind of stuff doesn't really interest me, but whatever, you know, it's up to them. And, you know, at the center of this group, it's run by the Tanozu group, which is run by Shinzen Tanozu. She's a, you know, she's probably in her 50s, I'd say. And her right-hand man is Choji Suitengu, who is, you know, obviously a man of great influence, and a lot of respect is given to him throughout this Tanozu and Roppongi group. He's kind of like, you know, the main focus of, you know, while you have Shinzen, she's like the top, he's kind of the one who's pressing all the buttons and running everything from behind the scenes. And also, you know, Shinzen Tanozu, she has a daughter named Kagura, and Kagura is a huge element in this story, and I'll tell you why. She's only 15 years old, but she is granted this power, I'm not going to say how, to, if you were to kiss her or exchange saliva with her, she would grant your, like, deepest, darkest desire, whatever it may be. Like, let's say my deepest desire was to, like, fight like Kenshiro, and I kissed her, then I would be able to fight like Kenshiro. So Saiga, he, you know, gets the tip about the Roppongi group, and it's like they have like a secret meetings every once in a while in like this, like, underground, like, pretty much like a coliseum, like this giant mansion, like what you would expect, you know, the billionaires of the world to, like, have in an underground group, like underground, like, subways run into the place, and it's really nuts. And so Saiga, he infiltrates it, and, you know, like I said about Kagura's power, they have, like, a ritual, and they grant, like, you know, new members, or I don't know exactly how they picked who to grant the powers to, But, you know, they would have a ritual, and that person would be granted their deepest, darkest desire once Kagura kissed them. And so, Saiga, he sees Kagura as she's coming down from the rafters to, you know, kiss the S&M. He's just some fat fucking loser, and he just wants some dumb power. And he sees her, and he takes a picture of her. And one of the rules of the group is you're not supposed to take pictures. They see him, they spot him. They shoot him, and he's about to die when Kagura comes down and kisses him, and his deepest, darkest desire is granted, which is the power to, you know, with his camera, to be able to take a picture of something and, like, blow it up. Just, you know, boom! Like, you know, an explosion, pretty much. And so, and he's granted, like, regenerative abilities as well. So he's pretty much like a superhuman, almost. And so, by using these powers, he's able to, you know, escape being killed by the Roppongi group, and he takes Kagura with her, and, you know, that's where the story just kind of goes off from there into, you know, there's this cat and mouse game going on between, you know, the Tenozu group and Suitengu and Kagura and Saiga. You know, sometimes the Tenozu group will be able to get Saiga back, and then, I mean, not Saiga, we'll get Kagura back, and Saiga will go to get her and get her back, and then, you know, they're kind of always exchanging hands throughout a decent amount of the series. 24 episodes, so it's not exactly a long series, which is a good thing, I think, in this case. So there's, you know, that cat and mouse game going on, and, you know, there's a whole bunch of different, you know, because, like I said, Kagura has granted this power, you know, the people's deepest, darkest desires before, so there's, you know, a lot of enemies that Saiga will encounter that have had their deepest, darkest desires granted to them. And, like, there's twists and turns in plot, and, you know, what you would generally expect from a show that's trying to maintain your interest. And it's pretty cool, I think. Some of the things I did like about the series is that it's kind of cool to see Saiga grow as a main character, because at the beginning of this, he's pretty much, you know, he's been in wars and stuff, but other than that, he's your average Joe, pretty much. And to see how he kind of learns how to use his power and to manipulate it, and to use it, you know, in more constructive ways than just, oh, here's a camera, let me fire it, you know. He's changing, like, the sizes of the lens, and he's fucking around, he's, like, getting different cameras and, like, hooking them up to his body, and he's, like, thinking of all these slick little tricks to pull, you know, in case he gets backed into a corner. And it was really cool to see him mature and develop. They handled that really nicely, I think. He went from being, you know, pretty much just some guy into being, you know, someone who was trying to really make a difference in the world and trying to stop, you know, this fate, you know, this terrible thing that's going on with the Roppongi group and the Tenozu group in general. Because Kagura, she's abused by her mother, and she's abused by Suitengu, and no one in the Tenozu group really gives a shit about her, and they just hate her, and she's miserable, and she wants to kill herself. And when Saiga comes along, you know, she kind of sees the, you know, the beautiful parts about life. And I thought that was really, really cool, and really nice to see, you know, both characters really developing simultaneously, but developing in extremely different ways. And in the end, they come, you know, to, like, you know, like in some sort of union, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they develop, and then all of a sudden it all just comes and ties together pretty nicely. So I really liked that. And another thing I really liked was the theme of the show. The theme was just, you know, they were talking about all of these influential, like, you know, people in the government, these people that have a lot of influence in the world, and they're doing these terrible things, and they're crooked, and they're corrupt, and it really speaks so strongly, you know, against the corruption against in politics and government and business and just, you know, in economics in the world in general. And Saiga kind of represents, you know, your average Joe pretty much, and he's just there to, you know, stand up for himself. And I thought that was really cool, because Saiga kind of represents, you know, the average working man going up and putting a stop to all this corruption and terrible things going on in society that, you know, you would think you wouldn't have any sort of say in how these things are run, or, you know, if you see something up, if you say something, no one's going to listen to you. But I think if you carry a big enough stick, and that this is kind of the point that the show's trying to get it off, if you carry a big enough stick, and if you scream loud enough, people will hear you, and change will start to happen, and you can make things happen even if you're just one person. So the theme of the show was really cool. Some of the things I didn't really like, some of the fights were a little bit anticlimactic. like I said, Saiga fights with a camera, and it's not like a camera that's like a machine gun, and he's like rapid firing, like it's an actual camera, just a regular actual camera. He's modified it a little bit, but nothing that's too substantial. And so he kind of, in that regard, you know, some of the fights were, while there were some really cool fights and some really cool twists in some of the fights, I'm not going to say who he fights at the end, and he's fought this person a few times throughout the series. I'm sure if you have, you know, watched any of the series, you'll know who I'm talking about. Very anticlimactic fights. They didn't last that long, and you know, that's the fault of being a 24-episode series, is that you don't really get to take the risks and create these awesome epic, like DBZ, like 5-episode fights. You know, you kind of got to wrap things up quickly and keep the story moving along, which they did do that very nicely. The story moves consistently from episode to episode. Episodes are always ending on cliffhangers, and that really fucking bugs me, because like I have to watch the next episode. I need to know what happens. I can't go to sleep knowing, you know, is Kagura alright? Is Saiga alright? What the hell's going on? So they definitely were able to keep my attention with the series. Music and animation are pretty standard. Not terrible, but not great. Voiceovers are one thing Funimation excels at really well, I think, is voiceovers. Except for the fact that Christopher Sabat does the voice of Saiga, and he sounds like Piccolo, so if you've watched Dragon Ball Z 500 times like I have, you will just think you hear Piccolo talking all the time. And you know what, that's just Funimation and the fact that there's no good voice acting out there. I'd much rather have Piccolo than some schmuck who has no idea how to voice act and he sounds shitty. So, you know, voice acting was pretty good. Buy it. It's a solid series. It's not like an Evangelion or a Cowboy Bebop or an Outlaw Star where, you know, it's only like a 26-episode series, but you just accomplish so much, and it's just so overwhelming, you know, what's going on in this series. It's just a solid series, I think. If you're just looking for something to watch, pick it up. I'd probably pay, you know, $20, maybe $25 tops for the series. $1 an episode, you really can't go wrong, I think. There's nothing that's like a glaring flaw, I think. I mean, sometimes it's, you know, there's things that bugged me, but overall, I think as a complete package, I thought this was a really solid series, and I would recommend it to people who just, you know, like series like Heat Guy J or Gantz, or, you know, you want something that's a bit more mature than just Naruto. Like, if you like Naruto, you're probably not going to like Speedgrapher, because there's a lot of like adult things going on and adult content and things that you might not, you know, appreciate. If you want something lighthearted, this does have its lighthearted moments, but overall the tone of it can be very grim at times. So go into it with that sort of mindset. You're not really looking for a good time. You're looking for, you know, a good, compelling story, which I think that this anime does deliver on that. So if I had to scale it, not that I really like to do this, it's about a 7 or an 8. Not terrible, but you know, it's not fucking Cowboy Bebop, like I said, or Evangelion, or you know, a must-watch, absolutely must-see series that will, you know, change your perception of anime forever. It's just solid. So, alright guys, that's pretty much it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Probably will be reviewing Gunsword next. I've been watching that on Netflix as well. And who knows, maybe I'll finish up something else and decide to review that. Hope you guys enjoyed my style. I think I did a pretty damn good job. And I will see you guys later. Take it easy. Peace.